أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the master of the day of judgment. I bear witness and testimony to the oneness of Allah, to His magnificence, His omnipotence, His might, His glory, to His being the creator and sustainer of all things, the giver of life, the guider of hearts, the master of the day of judgment. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and final messenger. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and upon all those who choose to tread in his path until the last day. The great Maliki jurist Ibn Abi Zayd rahimahullah, he says that the foundations of good character can be found in 4 hadith. Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawm al-akhir falyakul khayran aw liyasmut, that whosoever is habitually believing in Allah in the last day, let him utter only that which is good or be silent. Min husni Islam al-mar'i tarkahu ma la ya'nihi, that from the beauty of one's Islam is that they leave behind that which does not concern them. That a man comes and asks the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Awsini," that give me advice. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "La taghdab," do not get angry. And he asks again and again, he says, "La taghdab," do not get angry. And a fourth, that you will not have iman until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. The first 2 of these hadith we have looked at in previous Jumu'ahs. And this third is one that is that much more of an imperative for understanding how we relate not just to this worldly existence, but to an existence in the hereafter. May Allah make us people of Jannah. Because there's variants of this particular hadith where Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, he says that this man came and asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Awsini," that give me advice, give me counsel. In different variations of this hadith, the man asks the question of, give me something that would be little, like easy to do, but with the sense of the implementation of this is going to still render great reward, ajr, entrance into Jannah. And when the Prophet is asked this question of giving advice and counsel, he is not now responding in a way where he says, go and memorize the Quran in its entirety, perfect your tajweed, pray into the late hours of the night, fast every Monday and Thursday, engage in many pilgrimages. But it's not a ritual act that he responds with. He responds to this person who is coming looking for advice on something that he can do that could be a means for him to have benefit in the next world in the prism of having good character. La taghdab, do not get angry. If one was to ask as to what gets us into a lot of challenges, is our incapacity or unwillingness to recognize our full capacity to maintain control of our inner self, especially when we get into a state of heightened emotion. The agitation that comes now from this necessitates understanding that it's a particular type of anger that the Prophet ﷺ is telling his companion to not engage in. Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, he outlines 3 categories of anger. The first he identifies as tafrit, that it's too little, not enough. Meaning, why don't you get angered by the things you should be get angered about? Why does it not bother you? Why are you not bothered at the fact that there are people getting shot by law enforcement constantly in the streets? and nobody cares because their skin is black. Why does it not make you angry? Why does it not make you angry? The realities that children every single day are still getting killed throughout the world. Why does it not make me angry? The realities of inequity, oppression, injustice. Why do I make justifications and excuses when a friend of mine, a family member, somebody I know is abusing a woman in his life? Why does it not make me angry? And even if anger doesn't come, why is my response justification? Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, he's saying that the first type of anger is that you're actually not angry enough when you should be. You're not bothered by racism. You're not bothered by oppression. Can we have everybody move up really close? If you can fill in all the carpet that's in front of you, we'll get everything set when we line up to pray. But there's still a lot of room, and we want to make sure everybody fits here so we're not overflowing the live stream rooms downstairs. And it's a reflection point. Emotions are given to us by Allah. He's the one that wired us the way that we are wired. None of them are good or bad in the absolute sense of what we understand goodness and badness to be. How we might respond to them can be good or bad, but fundamentally they're data points. And you want to be able to sit and ask yourself, not in a way that is surface level, but with deep reflection, why do I not get angered at the things I should be getting angry about? It should rile me up. It should create agitation inside of me. The second category, he says, is ifrat, that it's too excessive, too much, that you get angry by everything. Why do I have to move up when it's time for Jummah prayers? Why do I have to be in a place where I wait at the end of the line and somebody else gets food first? Why is it that this cashier is taking so long to ring up this item in front of me from the person who should have been done 5 minutes ago? Why is this like this? Why is this like that? How you see things isn't telling you necessarily about what you look at, but how you see things tells you a lot about yourself. And if your default is that you're just an angry person consistently and constantly, Imam Ghazali is saying it's too much. Too little, not good. Tafrit. Too much, ifrat, not good. And the third category that he identifies, i'tidal, that's the middle form of anger. And he says this is an anger that's rooted in the sake of Allah and the sake of Allah's messenger. And you can see that there are consistent modes of engagement that the Prophet has with others that are rooted in him being angry. He gets angry when he sees somebody abusing somebody else. He does. The man is abusing a child and the voice is heard behind him that Allah has more dominion over you than you do over this child. And he turns and he sees it's the messenger of God, and anger is apparent on his face. And he says, Ya Rasulullah, he is free from this. And the Prophet says, good, had you not done so, you would have burned in the fire like a flaming coal. Bilal radiallahu an and Abu Dhar radiallahu an are arguing back and forth. Emotions escalate until Abu Dhar calls Bilal the son of a black woman. And he's saying it in a derogatory sense, that you are African, as if that's something wrong to be. They both become silent as the result of uncontrolled anger now manifesting in this way. When the Prophet ﷺ hears this, he becomes angry. And he says to Abu Dhar, all of us are the children of a black woman, referring to Hajar, peace be upon her. The Prophet got angered at racism. If you are racist, he is not going to be happy with you. But in the sense of where that balance comes, and identifying it not for the sake of the nafs, but rooted in a sense of what does it mean to have that self-control for the sake of the divine. Ali radiallahu an is an impeccable exemplar of one who is able to maintain this sense of control. And you don't want to take stories as things that are utopian-esque and not be in a place where we can extrapolate meaning and say, aspirationally, I want to be like that. They line up for a battle, and the way the battles would take place at that time on occasion, people would send forth from their ranks their best, strongest of warriors. And so the mushrikeen, they send forth a man by the name of Abdul Wud, who's said to be a giant of a man, that not only has he never been beaten in one-on-one combat, but they couldn't even bring him down to his knees. And he stands now in front of the Muslims, mocking, taunting, that where are those who claim that if they fall in this battle, Jannah is something that is guaranteed to them? Where is the one who claims to be a messenger of God, sent here for the benefit of this world? And everybody's silent. Nobody's moving. Ali radiallahu an goes to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and says, let me go and take him on. And he says, Ya Ali, stand back. This is Abdul Wud. You cannot beat him. The taunting and the mocking continues. And again, Ali comes, and again he comes. And the Prophet ﷺ sees something on his face, and it said he takes his own turban from his head and places it on Ali radiallahu anhu's head. And he sends him forth now to take this man on in one-on-one battle. Abdul Wud is a friend of Abu Talib, who is the father of Ali radiallahu anhu. He recognizes this young man because of that relationship that they have. And Ali radiallahu anh, he says that I've been told that if somebody was to make a proposition to you, two options, you would take one or the other. And he says, yes, this is true. He says, then leave us, and you will have no harm come to you. And he says, I cannot do this. And he says, then get ready to fight. Take me on one-on-one. And he says, Ya ibn akhi, I have no desire to fight you. And Ali radiallahu anh, he says, but I have a desire to fight you. They start to go back and forth. And Abdul Wud is in a place where anything that he is throwing is just being removed from any impact. Dodges to blows, all kinds of movement. And then in the midst of it, it is said that Ali radiallahu anh throws down his sword and his shield, propels himself forward with his 2 feet, strikes Abdul Wud in his chest, and is now straddling him with a smaller knife against the throat against his throat. And he says, leave us alone, and you will have your life. And Abdul Wud, he thinks within himself that if I am to give in here, everyone will know that I lost. And my reputation will no longer be what it is. But if I did not give in, then I would still be in a place where I have that honor and dignity in his own misconstrued sense of what dignity means. And so as Ali is giving him this way out, it is said that Abdul Wud, he gathers up all the spit that's in his mouth. In response to Ali radiallahu anhu's offer of peace, he spits in Ali's face. And then he clenches, waiting for a final blow. And Ali radiallahu anh gets up and walks away. And Abdul Wud, he says, what are you doing? And he said, if I was to act against you in this moment, it would be only to satisfy my own anger and not for the sake of Allah. Our tradition teaches us, the Prophet ﷺ says, that a strong believer is not one who can wrestle someone to the ground. A strong believer is one who can control themselves in a moment of anger. Here, Ali radiallahu anh is exemplifying what this means. And for us, we should have aspiration to say that I want to control myself like that too. May Allah make us from amongst those who are in control of our entire beings. But the important thing is that he's not just doing that in that setting. It's different in a public sphere to be in a place where you adopt an attitude and mindset that can give now this understanding. But he's like this all the time. The Prophet ﷺ comes to visit his daughter Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, who is married to Ali radiallahu anh. And when he comes into the home, Fatima is there, but Ali is not. And he says, where is Ali? And she says, we have had a quarrel, and he has left from the home. The Prophet ﷺ engages his wife, his daughter Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, asking if it is okay for him to be a part of the process of their healing. And she says yes. And he goes now and he starts to inquire as to where Ali radiallahu anhu is. And as he asks person after person, they say that he is in the masjid. And he walks into the masjid, and Ali radiallahu anhu, he's asleep on the ground. The masjid of the Prophet of God at that time did not have a carpet the way we pray on a carpet. It was just dirt. And so Ali radiallahu anhu is laying on the ground with his face in the dirt. And this is where the Prophet ﷺ calls him Abu Turab, O father of the dust. That as he's awakened, there is dirt and dust on his face. And Ali radiallahu anh, he welcomes his father-in-law into the conversation. But I want you to think about it from the standpoint of what our tradition teaches us and where you see someone who acts upon what they know. The hadith is real. And when it says you're in a moment of anger and you're standing, then sit down. If you're seated, then lie down. Ali is lying down on the ground. He knows that at any moment where the self is now in control and the heart is not sovereign, that in fits of anger, you can say all kinds of stuff and do things that you still have accountability for, even if you are not consciously aware of it. It is not somebody else's fault when you abuse them and mistreat them. It is not. That's on you. You cannot say that you made me respond in this way in my state of anger. And so what does Ali do when he is in a state of anger, argumentation? He just removes himself from the place. And in that moment where he removes himself from it, he's not running away, but he's replenishing to be his best self, to be able to move forward. He loves Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha. And part of his replenishment strategy is that he goes to a place that he know will be replenishing. For him, that's the masjid. And in the course of that strategy, he goes to sleep. And you think about what is happening to you when everything inside is becoming so heated. This is why the hadith tells us that if you are in that fit of anger, you make wudu, because the water, it cools it down. It is real. You don't do it, doesn't mean that it's going to give you what you can only get from doing it. But when your mind goes in a place where the nafs now is in control, you know that when you sleep, you wake up and it's different from the state that you're in when you're not sleeping. Ali radiallahu an is doing this with consistency. The Prophet ﷺ, he's telling this companion when he comes, Awsini, give me advice, la taghdab, do not get angry. But it's not like you have a button that says, now I'm angered and now I'm not. You have to work at it and put effort into it and exert a sense of what it means to now understand what the point of this religion is. In another hadith, when the Prophet is asked to give advice, and he tells the individual asking to be in a place where he controls his tongue, he controls his hand. هَلْ تَمْلِكُ لِسَانَكَ هَلْ تَمْلِكُ يَدَكَ? That are you the master of your tongue, or is your tongue the master of you? Are you the master of your hand, or is your hand the master of you? I want you to think for a moment what our tradition teaches us. Every single person who you have raised agitated voices in, inequitously. It doesn't matter if you're their father or not. It's even worse if you're their father and you're mistreating them. It doesn't matter if you're their spouse. It's that much more problematic if you made a trust and broke the trust and you struck them or yelled at them or screamed at them through that fit of rage. What are the books going to say? Every person that stands on the day of judgment, every limb is going to say what was done. How many ears are going to say that they heard you scream adult words into children's hearts? La taghdab. Be in control of yourself. If Allah wanted you to be an animal that had no self-control, He would have made you a cow. He didn't make you a cow. He made you a human. Stop barking like you're a dog. You're not a dog. You recognize that the consequence is what? The companion asked for advice. He didn't say, go and beautify the postures of your prayer. He said something relevant to how you treat others. And this gets in the way of most things that become foundational to other challenges that we have. If somebody has mistreated you through their anger, forgiveness is not for the one being forgiven, but forgiveness is for the forgiver. You don't want to give continuity to a cycle that has now within your heart what it is that they should never have placed in it in the first place, but to the best of your capacity, so that you don't have agitation within you, you take the steps to let it go. In Surah Al Imran, in its 134th verse, Allah Azza wa Jal, He speaks about anger, but not by itself in the frame of other characteristics of people of taqwa. May Allah make us from amongst them. وَالَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ, that they are those who they spend in times of ease and times of adversity. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ, and they swallow their anger. وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and they pardon those who do wrong from humanity. Wallahu yuhibbul muhsineen, and Allah indeed loves the people of ihsan. May Allah make us from amongst them. Wal kadhimin al ghayth literally means they swallow their ghayth. Ghayth is different from ghadab, because ghadab manifests itself outwardly in the form of actions. Ghayth is the precursor to ghadab. It's what's taking place inwardly. And the Quran is saying, just swallow it up. It's not saying, pretend like somebody didn't wrong you. That's not what it's saying. But don't let it then turn into an anger that is seeking retribution. That you're in a place where vengefulness starts to move forward. You did this to me, I'm going to do this to you. You gossiped about me, I'm going to gossip about you. You spoke about me in this way, I'm going to speak about you in this way. You got to cut off the cycle at some point. And that ability and capacity to have that means of control becomes now an inward opportunity that I can't control your inner self as much as you can't control my inner self. But I can control a sense of self-awareness that says, what is it that's bringing this about? How can you believe in Ar-Rahman? And how can you believe in Maliki Yawmiddin and think that it's okay to unleash the kind of things that people unleash on other people every day? How? How does it make any sense? If you're tired, then get some rest. If you don't know how to engage in self-care, reach out to us. We'll help you build a strategy and plan. But if you're in a place where you're just immersing and suffocating yourself in a validation that says all of the pain that the world is throwing at me, because I don't have a healthy mode of expression for it, I'm just going to throw that back at those who have less power than I do. And for most of us, that ends up not being the person who's wronging us to begin with, but we take it out on the people that we spend the most time with. It's going to be friends. It's going to be significant others. It's going to be family members. It's going to be your spouse. It's not good. In Ibn Abi Zayd, rahimahullah, he's saying that it's the third of 4 hadith that all good character is built upon. Our Prophet ﷺ was a man of mercy and compassion. You have to speak into yourself that kindness is a strength, and that type of unrighteous anger, selfish anger, it is a weakness. You think it's strength to unleash on somebody who is lesser in strength than you? What are you going to do when Allah, who is Malikul Mulk, calls everybody in front of Him on the Day of Judgment and say, where are those who thought they had dominion over anyone in that earthly realm? Let me show them what dominion actually is today. La taghdab, la taghdab, la taghdab. Don't do it to your heart. Don't do it to yourself. 14 centuries later, we're not getting angered by the things that Prophet ﷺ would get angered by. And we are getting angry by things that he would never get angry by. An inverse of what the sunnah is. And then you have to figure out, well, whose example are you actually following? And Iblis is the one that could not control himself when he got agitated. And even till today, just doubles down, making justifications as to why his abhorrent behavior is something that's acceptable. This day of Jummah, if you have wronged somebody with your words, with your hands, with any aspect of your being, go and seek their forgiveness. And if they don't give it to you, that's their right. You still don't want to leave this earth in a way where your unbridled sense of entitlement allows for an anger unchecked to then manifest in a decision in front of the divine. That in that moment, you would wish anything to come back and say, I want to go back and fix it. Allah gave you young people as blessings. He gave you the gift of companionship in a mode that you honor it. If you do not treat each other well, this is why in our tradition we have the beginnings of relationships, but also mechanisms to end relationships. Do not follow what it is that is culturally hegemonic, that is making you continue to be in a place where you are mistreating and not honoring the rights of somebody. If you're carrying heaviness inside of you, may Allah make it easy. You don't have to go through it alone. We're here to help. We want to listen, so you don't have to hold it by yourself. There's no age that is too old to get to a place where you remedy. May Allah make the best of our deeds the last of our deeds, and let not any one of us leave this world other than in a state that is most pleasing to Him. And so if breaths are limited because age is getting older, it's all the more important, man, to do it right now while you still have some breaths that you're breathing in this world. And if Allah has given you the blessing of being at a younger age in your life, then build good habits around how it is that you maintain that self-control. And a recognition of numerous hadith that when they are describing people of paradise and people of Jahannam, they are talking about people and how they treated other people. And here, the companion comes, Alsini, give me advice, O Messenger of God. And the Prophet says to him, La taghdab, do not get angry. May Allah make us from amongst those who heed the words of His beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسول. Inventory the last day, the last week, the last month of your existence in this world. The way Allah has built us, we are given signs from our heart, from our mind, from our body, from our spirit, as to what state it's in. It is never a balanced state to be abusive or oppressive of somebody. Never. Your heart is telling you when the only ways that you can express is through irate irritation, something isn't going on well. Exhaustion becomes a breeding ground for these types of ill behavior. Help us to make that standing a day of ease, one without any judgment, and make us those who utilize our days in this world in the ways that you have intended for us to do, seeking nothing other than your pleasure. Help us to realize, Ya Allah, that there are so many who we sit with even in this moment that are carrying such heaviness, such harm, such pain inside of them. That every home is not a loving home. That every place that one resides is not always a place of comfort and warmth. Make us the reason people have hope in this world, Ya Allah, and never the reason that people might dread it. Help us to be those who learn about our individual capacities, to not make justifications for our transgressions, to seek forgiveness from those that we have wronged, and to forgive to the best of our ability those that have wronged us. Make us those, Ya Allah, who see kindness as a strength and always try our best to follow in the footsteps of your beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Give us the opportunity, Ya Allah, to mend the wrongs that we have engaged in, and let our tomorrows in this world be filled with as many rights as possible. Protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وأقيموا الصلاة.